First of all, I want to thank ITEPMAI for the invitation. At first, I was invited to talk about PAM, I will call it PAM, it's more familiar to me, sector in Portugal, in a rendezvous, and I thought it would be a small gathering, an informal meeting, and when I realized, looking at the program, that I would be speaking of innovation in the PAM sector in Portugal, in an international conference, I really felt very frightened and also surprised. But then I began thinking about the subject, and in fact, I now finally I feel I'm glad I had to think about it and to share these thoughts with you. And let you also decide whether you find this is innovative compared to your own experience. I divided my conclusions in three main ideas. The first one is that it is innovative because it's new, in fact. In Portugal, this is a brand new sector. 20 years ago, there was only one farmer that grew PAM, and when I started working with them, all the producers in Portugal could fit in a small room. They were not more than 20, and this happened 10 years ago. So everything that all that is going on is doing this for only more than 20 years. So it is new. Secondly, new tools and new processes have to be developed by Portuguese farmers because most of them follow a specific model, which I don't know if we could call it a Portuguese model, but that is different from what we can find in most places throughout Europe. It is mainly organic agriculture in very, very, very small, not small like in France, but small, very small farms. And so it has led to the need to invent or to modify or to transform things that were used for other sectors. And also, and this is the part that I know more, because I must say I'm an economist. I don't know much of technical aspects of the farming part. I work with the farmers and the other stakeholders in the sector. So I'm more familiar with this part of the innovation, which I could call social innovation, because there's something about the way Portuguese farmers are now organized, the farmers and the other stakeholders, that is new, that has been the result of innovative methodologies and tools and also processes. I will try also that we can have a glimpse of the Portuguese sector. So I will just remember you that we are a Mediterranean country, and this puts us in front of big challenges, for example, in developing cooperative action for research and for economic purposes with other countries that have similar conditions. These are the wild species that are most collected in Portugal. Maps were traditionally used in gastronomy and for medicinal uses, but in fact it is a very recent agricultural option, and all sorts of challenges emerging sectors usually have to face were faced by Portuguese farmers. These are the most cultivated species. In the case of the dried plants, I work mainly with producers of dried plants and plants for essential oils. Given the fact that for fresh cut we have 2 or 3 industries that are bigger, so they don't participate so much in this network. And in a study, the only official study that was being done about this sector in 2012. Those were the main species that were produced and sold. And recently I have done an inquiry next to my network, and the results were not so different. Stevia also now appears as a plant that is cultivated, and also some other like saffron, but there has been some changes in the plants, but the biggest, the ones that are most sold remain. Well, in that same study, we realized that the results were expected, since we have known them for some time now, and the farms are really small. Medium was about 2 hectares and a half, and now it is a little more. Organic agriculture, and now this is, I think, the most relevant, innovative point about Portuguese production. It's almost 100% organic. Since it is so new, everyone that goes into the business goes to organic production, and now there are also biodynamic producers, and they are not a traditional farmer. They are different from the other farmers in Portugal. Most of them are what we could call new rurals, and that come from other sectors and are high educated in several domains, and not mainly in agriculture. And the most common model, as you can see, there's a picture in there, it's the use of integral mulching, this fabric mulching, drip irrigation, light mechanization, and perennial plants. This is the traditional, or the Portuguese model. Now there has been some changes. We can talk about it a little further, and this led to the search for innovative solutions, and it has mainly been in these kind of things: new or adapted equipments. Solar drying is very relevant in Portuguese sector. I think we have developed very interesting solutions for small companies, and local plants are tested by the farmers, and there's a growing need for becoming more efficient in all parts of the process, and to also diversify and valorize byproducts. These are some pictures of Portuguese farms. You can see there is some diversity. There's now also some of them who only grew dried plants also do fresh cut plants. And these are some of the tools that are used during the process of cultivation and harvesting. As you can see, most of them still do essentially handmade work for harvesting. Those are some examples of how the plants are dried, some different ways of, different kinds of solar dryers. And this is a picture of a recently founded company for seeds. Being small was not the only problem. When we began working with this sector, all problems like lack of information, limited technical knowledge, a little significant relationship between stakeholders, difficulties in assessing and creating for new plants, some markets, and lack of political relevance were also problems, and that's why EPAM project has been designed, and it is now considered by DG Agri in European Commission as a good practice of social innovation in rural development. And in a few words, what is it? EPAM network. It's an informal network. It's not an association. farmers are not obliged to participate, and still they do. It's based on collaborative economy values. We have a collaborative platform, and the main idea is that internet must be complemented by face-to-face interaction. So this is a multiple networking system. We sort of manage several networks at different levels. There's a local network. We try to put them in contact with other stakeholders, not only producers, but relevant stakeholders at the local level. Then we organize events for bringing them all together in the national level, and also we'll try to create links with other countries, with networks from other countries, and pick up people from different local networks so that they can all relate to each other more. So in fact, with this multiple networking ecosystem, we have now, I think, an innovation-driven ecosystem in the sector, because information really flows, and collaborative performances really happen. And happen between producers, and also between producers and other stakeholders, like researchers, for example. And that used to be like that some years ago. So participation and empowerment are the key words. And this is a transferable methodology and transferable tools. And even now in Portugal, some emerging sectors are now wishing to follow more or less the same methodologies and the same principles. And we are now working with them for this dissemination. So the objectives of EPAM is to foster the development of a national network, to support entrepreneurship. This is really addressed to the entrepreneurs, to increase and disseminate knowledge, and to build on experience and prepare policy proposals. So we are more or less, I facilitate this kind of objectives. I'm not an agent, I'm not a commercial or sales agent. I am a facilitator for this networking process. And our axes in intervention are also different from traditionally. We, instead of looking at the sector as something like production, transformation, marketing, and sales, we approach it we have an integrated approach, and we prefer to organize all our intervention in this axis: knowledge, relationship, dissemination, and potential, and have all of the stakeholders in the different stages of this chain together in all of these actions. And something that I heard yesterday from Fitolia, we too share these strong values. Collaborative action, empowerment, transparency, and sharing are the key words of our work. Our collaborative platform, you can find there a map with the location and some contacts and information on producers in Portugal. The ones that registered, I know many more than these. There you can find, I think, 150. I know another 150 producers that participate in our activities but are not registered. And news, projects of research in this area, an agenda, a forum, an interactive newsletter, and a PAM production guide, etc. are tools you can find in this platform. Networking, the field work is done with, as I told you, different kinds of actions, local and national and international meetings, workshops, seminars, working groups, training actions, including e-learning transnational course, and technical visits and promotional initiatives, etc. And now, because of this, and because there is no other organization that can represent the sector in Portugal, we have been invited to also be members in CEDEM. and Europam, and we have now created CCPAM, Center of Competences of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants in Portugal. Just because images can speak for themselves, these are some images of those field networking or actions. So just to finish, CCPAM, the Centro de Competências, Competences Center of Aromatic, Medicinal and Condimentary Plants, is also a network. It's not yet an association. I think it will be an interprofessional association, but not for now. It is a network where almost 40 members participate, from companies to research centers, and these are the main objectives. We want a consolidated network, we want competitive companies, and we want internal and externally recognized quality. So this is our main areas of work. And we have just approved a strategic plan with these, having these objectives, also to continue on the enhancing of this organizational collaborative system, to research for efficiency in production and for new products and added value chain products, and also to develop an internal market, which in fact doesn't exist, and continue growing on the external marketing through quality products. That's our challenges for the next at least 4 years. Thank you for your attention.